Guys, once again, the original has proved itself to be one of the most unpredictable shows on TV. Hey guys, coming back for the mid-season finale of the originals, Season 3, Episode 9, Savior, and holy shit, what an episode. I really didn't know what this episode was going to be going into it, guys. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, usually I have a clear idea of what a mid-season finale is going to be, and this one I really didn't know. I didn't know what we were getting into, mainly because of how unpredictable this show is. I mean, last year's was very unpredictable, and I knew this one was going to be as unpredictable, but not that unpredictable. I did not expect what happened in this episode to happen. We will definitely get into that. I know you guys want me to talk about that, but so much happened in this episode. But the thing about this episode is that it wasn't as grand as Season 2, but in a way it was, in the sense of how big it was. The thing I love about this season is that it's big, but in a very subtle way. You know, this season a lot more confrontations and making amends and, you know, big speeches and big scenes rather than it is straight on battles. We don't really need battles in this season. I think that's one of the reasons we didn't get it. I do think eventually we're going to get to that point, but this point we're not really there this season. This is this has been like a crime show this year, you know, crime mixed with horror. That really is what the show has been this season, and I really like that. It's a good way to, you know, change things up. You don't want to be too repetitive, and this season has not been repetitive at all. I definitely really love that. But let's get into this episode. There's a lot to talk about, and by far the best episode of the season. I mean, come on, seriously. Better and better every episode, and damn, was this episode amazing. Let's just get into it. So we start with Rebekah, and once again, it was so great to see Claire Holt back. I know people get really upset that she's not on the show a lot. She's not on the show for two reasons, I think. One, because Claire Holt, of course, is on that show Aquarius and NBC, which, however you feel about it, she's on that show, so she can't be on the show a lot because of that. But I kind of like that she's not on the show a lot, mainly because they just make so much use and utilize her characters so well in every single episode that she's in. They always make sure that she has the most that she needs in that episode. That way we feel satisfied when she's gone. That's why I'm never upset that Rebekah's not in an episode, because I feel like they use her very well when she's on the show, and that's why she's on so few times, because they use her very, very well. So we see Rebekah, she's talking about being daggered and it's being like a dreamless sleep, mainly because she feels everything while she's asleep. It's this thing that makes her just feel all the pain, and it's really tragic, but she says this is different and says it's an agony of thirst. She's in a crate that's been dragged up from the Gulf, and the men were paid by Elijah, and you knew Elijah was going to Rebekah. That was one thing I knew was going to happen in this episode, because obviously Elijah found her coordinates and knew where she was. So they hope it's something valuable and they can force Elijah to renegotiate. He's there and kills the men. And he's not going to work with these men. I mean, he only told them this so he could get to Rebekah, which was very smart of Elijah, by the way, let me say that. So, Rebekah looks blue and waterlogged, and Elijah goes over to her and pulls out the dagger. She gasps to life and sits up, and Elijah smiles and says hello, and what she says is just so great. I love how Rebekah always tries to stay in high spirits, and all she says is, "Tell me I didn't miss Christmas." I think that was a great line. I love that, and it's awesome to see her back on the show. But this was really also a reunion for the entire cast, because they haven't seen Rebekah since the season finale of Season 2. Sure, Freya saw her, but Freya was the only character that saw her this season. The other characters haven't seen her since, and she has a lot of catching up to do. So they did that very well in this episode as well. This is very much a catch-up episode, and I really like that too. So Cami is at Klaus's place, and there are a lot of great scenes between Cami and Klaus this episode. Probably Cami and Klaus' best episode. In terms of episodes where Klaus and Cami, by far their best one. So he has a woman on here who gives him blood and decorates the house. Cami thanks him for letting her stick around there, and she asks why he didn't go with Elijah to get Rebekah, which is a good question. I mean, he wanted Rebekah back, but why didn't he just go with Elijah? Why did he stay with Cami? And he says that they need space and worries about the family part of the prophecy. And, you know, we know the real reason. We know the real reason, obviously, because he's in love with Cami. We know that. But I think what he's saying is true, that he needs space, and he doesn't want the family part of the prophecy to come true. I understand that. But I do think this is mainly because he just really cares about Cami. So his predictions keep unfolding no matter what, and, you know, he's kind of realizing no matter what he can do, he can't stop this prophecy. So she gets a text from Vincent and says that she has to go, and basically she goes there. So Marcel finds Tristan at the bar and isn't happy to have him there, and Tristan reminds him that he needs his protection from the Michelson, and he talks about installing a regent, and Marcel says no one wants that role since one was shunned, that being Davina, and the one before her was killed. So there's no reason to do this. It's not a good idea. Now, by the way, guys, we do not get that confrontation I think we were getting between Freya Freya and Finn, mainly because I don't think we really need to see that. I mean, I think Finn was just there to give her advice, and that's why that happened, and Marcel says that they need a witch to do their bidding. Now, I was thinking, oh, he's talking about Freya or Davina. He's talking about one of them, definitely. So Tristan says that he has someone already, Van, and who Van is this powerful witch, which we'll get in more into that a little bit later. But Cami meets Vincent, who says that she needs to make a house call on Kinney. He says the detective was fired and has been blacking out ever since, and that's understandable. I mean, Kinney, the last time we saw him, he was pretty unstable. I mean, he was held hostage by Lucian, and who's not in this episode at all, by the way. Lucian's not even in this episode. Aurora's even barely in this episode, which is very interesting. I'm surprised they didn't use them very well. They didn't use them a lot, but they didn't really need to be in this episode a lot. I will definitely say that. But basically, the last time we saw Kinney was blacking out. He obviously is freaking out. He obviously was very affected by what he saw because he's never seen anything like this before. So it's understandable why he's going so crazy. So Vincent says there's missing evidence, strange arrests, and now he's locked himself in his house. And basically, he's put himself under house arrest, pretty much. So Jackson's in the bayou, and you knew, this was the other thing I knew was going to happen in this episode. I knew Jackson and Hayley were going to have some kind of confrontation in this episode, and I didn't expect it to go the way it did. I really love this scene, though, between Jackson and Hayley. It really shows how much they care about each other. I really do love it. Again, I know people don't like Jackson and Hayley, but I really do love their scenes. I have to say, I think they just have very good chemistry. So Jackson's in the bayou and finds Hayley waiting by the cabin. She says she thought he'd come home eventually. He asks if she loves Elijah, which is a very good question since she's stuck by Elijah. And I like what she says here. It's very interesting. She says that he knew when he married her. Jackson says when he saw her there, it was wonderful. He says he feels like a fool for wanting to be with her. And she says that her feelings for Elijah are complicated, but she loves Jackson and chooses him, and chose him. Now, what's interesting is the whole thing with her saying my feelings for Elijah are complicated. Now, I still have this theory that she only is really with Jackson because she can't really be with Elijah. That's kind of how I see this, that she really would like to be with Elijah because he's very unstable and she knows this, and I kind of feel like that's what's going on here. She says she chooses him every day and says their first Christmas together, and says she's never had a happy one. She says she will spend it with them and not the Michelsons, even if their house is set on fire, and she just wants to be away from the drama for a chance. Even though she wants that life with a lot of violence, things like I said last week, and she wants to be in control, the other part of Hayley, wants this family life. She wants the best thing for her daughter. So Jackson agrees to come back to the apartment, and I was surprised by how quickly they had that reconciliation, but, it really didn't take too much. I was really hoping this wouldn't break them up because it was something really stupid, so I'm happy that they got back together. They, already made amends and seem like they're good again, so Tristan's on the bar when Aurora comes down ranting. She asks how many days it's been. Tristan says he'll be up with her with her next dose soon. He says they will have the medallion by the end of the day, and we'll have Freya out of the picture too. Now, this is very interesting with them talking about Freya. They clearly don't want Freya involved because she's the one that's trying to get the Michelsons back together and is trying to fix things, and they don't want that. They don't want this to work out, and they want to do something to Freya, which would definitely make sense. So that was definitely very interesting, and that really sets up, a lot of what's going to happen this season, so for the rest of the season, that is. So Elijah and Rebekah are driving back to New Orleans. She says she's angry and then says that they can't believe the prophecy, but he says they can't ignore it, and of course Elijah had to tell Rebekah about it because she was not aware of it, and I like that he finally told her. So Elijah reminds Rebekah that Freya has allegiance to Finn, and Rebekah asks if Klaus has learned his lesson, and Elijah says that Klaus learns it often, but it is a terrible student, and Rebekah has a magical mark growing on her arm that's making her vamp out. She doesn't know what this is, but it's making her vamp out, and it happens several times this episode. We'll get into that. It's very interesting. Jackson picks up a tree and heads home. He sees Freya being followed in the street. He sees another man get out and go after her. Freya goes to her car, clicks the alarm. This was insane. This was just, I really didn't know what was going to happen here. She clicks the alarms, takes out one vamp, then another is there and breaks her wrist, slams her into a dumpster. She fights back, then another vamp is on her too. He grabs a medallion and knocks her out, and that was pretty insane. So Jackson takes his axe to one, kicks the crap out of kicks to shit out of another, then he beheads another. But the third gets away with the medallion, and he picks Freya up and carries her out of the alley, and he's not happy. He's obviously not happy about this attack, and even though Jackson doesn't trust the Michaelsons, he seems to trust Freya. I think it's because Freya, honestly, is the most low-key out of all of them. I mean, even though she's a badass, she's still the most low-key because she hasn't done anything really irrational, and he really doesn't know Freya as well, and I like that he tried to help her. Plus, he doesn't really know Freya at all, so I thought that was definitely a really great scene. I love seeing badass Freya. We've really been seeing that all season long, this badass side of Freya. It's really awesome. It's kind of come out of nowhere, but it really does make sense in the sense that she wants to do whatever she can to stop this prophecy from happening, and she has to do some irrational things, and it's really awesome to watch, and I'm loving seeing Freya going through this transformation. It's badass. I love it. She is awesome. So Cami goes to see Kinney, and then Klaus is there, and she asks why he's following her. She says she doesn't need a bodyguard, but he says that he's there as a friend, and she's pounding on the door. Klaus hears a noise, he kicks in the door, and Kinney was about to shoot himself. He was going to commit suicide, and when they came in, and Kinney says that he can't make a difference. He says things are lurking in the shadows, and he's worthless, and I really thought this was interesting seeing here with Kinney. I mean, him saying, look, I'm immortal. There's nothing I can do about this. It's really something I don't think Cami has ever really thought of. The fact that he's saying, I'm worthless, I'm just a human being. Cami begs Klaus to help and says that it's all Lucian's compulsion, that he's under his control, and this has nothing to do with how he truly feels. I do feel that Kinney does feel this way, but not as crazy as it seems. So Klaus says invite him in, and Jackson tells Hayley to give Freya some blood, and Hayley says it's hard to ignore when someone needs help. She says the vampires took the Siratura, and she says the only way to get rid of it is to use it to lock something else away. So Elijah's there, Rebekah comes in, they tell Freya that this is more urgent, and that, it's simply more important than what's going on. Even though that she was just attacked, it's just more important. So Marcel finds Vincent working out in his gym and says Van went broken, now Tristan gave him money, and Van will be regent and owe a debt to the Strix. Now, I love this scene between Marcel and Vincent. Marcel ransoms and says this will be worse when he has witch blood on his hands, and Vincent asks why he gives a damn, and Marcel says that they are all New Orleans, and he's going to hand over the covens to an outsider. Vincent tells him to back off of witch business, and Vincent uses magic to blow out all the lights. He tells Marcel he's been holding back his power a long time. He says he's going to take the regency instead of Van, but Marcel won't like it. And now we see why Vincent doesn't agree to help Davina, because he kind of has his own agenda, and it's very interesting to see that now, basically, Vincent has had his own agenda. It doesn't, it's not what Marcel wants, and definitely this is very interesting. It's kind of, again, come out of nowhere, but it really has made sense. I mean, why hasn't he wanted to help Davina? Mainly because he's had his own agenda this entire time. And that definitely makes a lot of sense. So, sorry guys, this is a KFC if you guys are wondering, but Klaus tells Kinney that he can't take away the feeling of worthlessness, but he says he can just live with it. Even though he can't take away his pain, he can just accept it, accept that this is something that he can't fix. And Klaus says that there is a beauty in the courage of the fragile fighter. He tells those who still believe there is good in the world are needed by even the darkest things. And I do agree with Klaus is saying here. If you believe that there are good people and that people are going to help you and that not everyone is bad, then you can just look at that over the bad things in your life and just think about the good things. And Klaus compels him, says you matter, and others see the good in him, and Kinney shudders. He asks if Kinney has a family, and he says a sister. Klaus says go spend Christmas with her, and then when he gets back, he'll get his job back from his captain, and I love that Klaus is doing this. Now, yes, someone could say, oh, he's just trying to look good in front of Cami, but no, Klaus truly does want to help this guy, and it really shows the development that Klaus has gone through. I mean, this is something that Klaus would have never done, maybe even last season. I don't think Klaus would have done this last season, but he's done this now, and it's very interesting. So Klaus compels him and says, basically, Klaus then takes the gun and says, tomorrow will be better, and the day after that, even better. So I like that he just compelled him in a positive way. Not really something we've seen before. I mean, we've seen people compel, but usually it's to get their way. That's usually why they compel them, is either to get their way or to do something very bad to that person. For once, Klaus did this in a positive way to Kinney, which is something I don't really think we've seen before. So Freya looks at the mark and says the stake infected her and she'll go mad if it's not fixed, and says it will make her a ripper. So Elijah says the Strix always puts in a safety net. She says she can reverse it but needs time and a lot of magic. She passes out. Elijah says that she's been poisoned. He calls it an assassination attempt, and Freya comes to, and Jackson says the vampires must have stabbed her with something, and Elijah says there's an antidote. He goes to make a call. Freya tells him what she needs to cure Rebekah, and Hayley says she can't do this while she's weak, and now we know what's going on with her. She could turn to a Ripper. And Freya says that she can channel Finn and says it's their only option. Rebekah's glum, and they don't want her to do this, but it's really the only thing they can do. And Cami thanks Klaus. He says it was nothing, but she says that it was. His phone rings, interrupting just a moment, and it's Elijah. And Finn is there as Freya chants. He tells her that it's not worth it. And Freya says that it has to be. That it has to be worth it. And Klaus says that he knows where to find the antidote. He says Lucian likely has the cure. And Cami says go and she'll be fine. Klaus says he can't worry about her. He says she needs to stay with him and says please. She nods, and basically I like that he's trying to keep her safe. You know, even though that she wants to keep herself safe, he knows how to keep her safe. He knows how to protect her. He doesn't want something bad happen to her. He knows that there are people after her, and he doesn't want her to get hurt. And I really love seeing that. So Rebekah hugs Hayley and asks about the icky sweater. She says it's Cami's and says she and Jackson, I really love the scene here. And basically, she and Jackson live across the street. Rebekah takes off on her and says she thought they were friends, almost sisters, and says Hayley only wants to be with them when she needs something. This is a scene that I love because while the finale was very crazy, they did have some low-key scenes like this. You know, just scenes for Rebekah to simply just catch up on what's been going on with her family and what's been going on with the people she cares about, which I really love seeing. So she then slams Hayley against the wall, asks if she's a friend, family, or if she's been a foe all along. Freya works the spell, and this is obviously effect of the Ripper. Finn says this is killing her and says, let Rebekah die, and it can be the two of them again. Elijah rushes in and tells her to stop. She says, don't touch me. He says, we can't lose you to save Rebekah. He bites his arms and offers it to her. Finn opens her channel while she drinks from Elijah. Hayley says she's been fighting the prophecy at the risk of her family, and Rebekah says that Hayley prancing her face, her fake husband around in front of Elijah, breaks her heart. Jackson bursts in, says Freya's burning up. Hayley shoves Rebekah back, and she says if her brothers turn each other, it's because of Hayley. And I understand what Rebekah's trying to say. I will say she brought up some valid points. Even though she was a Ripper, I can understand what she's trying to say here. You know, if you turn this way, this could be because of, my brothers are fighting over you and that you've kind of caused this. And Rebekah attacks, they go flying out the window. And in many ways, this is because of Hayley. I mean, but it's mainly because of one action that Klaus did. Really, this has all been about the way that Klaus handled things in Season 2. That's what this entire feud has been about. The way that Klaus, killed Michael, the way that Klaus did what he did to Hayley, you know, where he put Hayley in that permanent wolf curse and put her in that state. Elijah still has never been okay with that and still is yet to forgive Klaus for that. He's never, ever been okay with that, and that's really what's caused all this. So in many ways, Rebekah's right. This is because of Hayley, but it's mainly because of just the way that Klaus decided to go about it, which again, he only did to protect them. That's really why he did it, but Elijah still doesn't understand that, and Rebekah then attacks and they go flying out the window. Hayley and Rebekah face off and brawl. Elijah grabs Rebekah, says, control yourself. Her eyes have gone completely black. Rebekah tells him that she is controlled. She then snaps his neck and she moves to kill Hayley. But Klaus is there and stops her, then stops her again when she goes for Cami. Rebekah talks ugly to Klaus about Cami. And what's interesting about Cami is that she says, oh, you don't really love Cami, things like that. And she says, Cami will go toxic too. And she talks about how every single person that Klaus has ever gone to has gone toxic. And in many ways, this does make sense. I mean, look at Aurora. Aurora is practically just crazy in love with Klaus and will hurt anyone that gets close to him. And this is basically what Rebekah's saying, that Cami is going to go crazy too. And Cami runs off and Hayley goes to Freya and she gives Jackson the antidote. He shoots it into her heart. She starts chanting again to save Rebekah, who is fighting both of her brothers. Freya runs out with a blazing hot knife and burns the flesh off her arms while she chants. And I love that Freya was risking her own life to save her sister. I mean, I love seeing that. So Rebekah resists, then goes still, and finally comes to. She sits up and opens her eyes. The other siblings are looking at her, and she says, I love that she's just like, well, that was annoying. I thought that was pretty funny. So Klaus smiles, and she smiles back, and they know that Rebekah's back to normal, which was great seeing. But this is definitely not the end of this whole thing. We'll get into what happens to Rebekah, because it's actually very sad. So Holt plays in her crib. Hayley chats with Jackson. She says, a fist around your heart is not a good feeling. She says she wanted them to watch It's a Wonderful Life. She asks why he helped them, and Jackson says instinct, which is a good question. I mean, if he wanted this low-key life with her, why did he help them out? He says it felt like one of his pack was in danger, and he says he knows in-laws suck, and says he respects how the Michelsons fought to save each other. He says that he has to be with Hayley, so the originals are part of the deal that he's in, and I think that's true. I think he's realizing that in order for Hayley to be with the originals, he needs to be with her. So he kisses her, and I really just love that scene. You know, Jackson is definitely starting to understand Hayley, and I really do love seeing that. So, over at the Michaelsons, Hayley and Jackson show up with Hope. Jackson says the family's all there. Elijah greets Hope, and Klaus thanks Jackson for healing Freya. Rebekah comes in as Klaus cracks a joke that they're out of mason jar moonshine, and Cami's there too. Rebekah says that therapy is paying off, and I love that they had a Christmas song playing in the background. Definitely really love that. Rebekah's a little fire going to do their Christmas rendition tradition of writing down their wishes and burning them. And that makes sense why they do that, because why have wishes, honestly? Why have wishes? Just burn them. And Klaus says the Strix have to believe Rebekah's lost at sea since they have the weapon, and she says that that means that she can't stay, that she has to leave, because they could go there, they could find her there, and she knows that, and she doesn't want them to find her. So in order for that to happen, they should just, she should just leave. And it's really sad because she just showed up, and she has to leave. And I didn't think this was bad what they did. I know some people could be like, oh, this was just their way of getting her to go. No, I think this really made sense for her character. I mean, obviously there are people after her. Rebekah's been used as bait this entire season pretty much, and in order for her to get away from it and make sure that they don't find her, she needs to get away. So she looks over at a giggling Hope and says it's okay, her wish came true, they have this moment. She takes her brother's hands, and this really felt final, honestly. Honestly, this felt like the final appearance of Rebekah. We'll get into that. I honestly feel this might be the final appearance of her. So Marcel sweeps up the gym when Tristan shows up and asks why he's alone on the holiday. Tristan says he needs his expertise. He says he heard that Van has been rejected by the ancestors. And Marcel says no, the witches aren't easily swayed. He says someone is ascending right now and asks who it is. Marcel says that it's Vincent, and Marcel says that Vincent won't be easily bought. Then tells Tristan Merry Christmas, and Tristan glares. Basically telling him that, look, Vincent's not going to agree. He has his own plan, and it's not all going to go the way you want it. So Elijah holds a giggling Hope. Rebekah comes in with her bags packed. She tells Freya to take care of their brothers and says they need it. She hugs her siblings and kisses Hope, then tells Hayley that she's sorry for what she said, and it's just a really great scene here. She says she thought Hayley would hate Klaus forever. Hayley says that she will, and I loved when she said that she will always hate him. But they do have that bond. So Klaus hugs Rebekah and says she's always leaving. He says run far and fast and stay on the move. He says know your weakness. She says she'll run from love if he'll run toward it, and looks over at Cami. She leaves. Cami gives Klaus a small smile. He smiles back, and Freya then sits with Elijah and says that she snuck into a ball there 100 years ago. She says she thought that she was fated to always be an outsider. She says it's not been the most elegant family Christmas, but has been the best she's ever had. And I thought this was a very interesting scene here, her talking about how she's always felt like the outsider. For once, Freya feels like she's kind of in control. I mean, a big worry of mine this entire season is, was Freya just going to feel like she didn't belong this season? It's been the complete opposite. In fact, Freya's becoming one of my favorite characters. She, in many ways, has saved their asses so many times this season, and has helped them in so many ways, and I love seeing that, and she's been in control of things, and Freya's never really felt the way, but she really loves that control, and she wants to be in control, and I definitely love seeing that. So he says some things are worth the wait. Klaus then finds Cami standing on the balcony, asks what she's thinking about. She says she asks if Rebekah was right, and he sees her as a fragile thing to be kept behind glass. And I like that he's wondering, was Rebekah right here? That is something that he should think about. She says Aurora didn't hurt her because of him. She says that he's always been there for her and everyone he cares about. And she says today he saved someone who doesn't mean a thing to him, and asks why, which is true. I mean, why would he save Kinney? I mean, Kinney, he clearly didn't give a shit about why do you want to help him. He says because she wished it. He saw that she wanted this, and he wanted to do whatever he can to help her. And he says what's important to her is important to him. He says he doesn't want to watch her from behind glass. She asks what he wants. He steps close and kisses her. They finally kiss, and finally Cami and Klaus are together. And I know I said last week that I really feel Cami doesn't have that same love for Klaus, but him doing this to her really showed her that he really does care about her, and she needs someone like Klaus. And Klaus also needs someone like Cami. And I love seeing that. I love it. These two are finally together, and it was such a great scene. And it really feels like we've been building up to this for so long. It really feels like we deserved seeing these two together. So Freya looks around the room. She does magic, can't find the necklace. She says Finn no, and Vincent is taken over the regency and says all he needs is the guidance he can get. And Tristan and his guys show up. Tristan says that he loves cemeteries. He says churches celebrate fairy tales, but cemeteries show the truth that you can't stop the inevitable. Vincent and says he's seen the Strix vampires, telling me he says he's sick of good people falling down the trash brought by the originals. He says keep watching him, but know for sure that he's watching them too. And Tristan says that that's brave to be a vigilante wish. He says he knows someone he does fear. He lays a necklace on his hand, says if he doesn't do what he wants, Freya will make sure that he does. So he's now taken the necklace with Finn inside of it, and who knows what he's going to do with it. So Elijah meets Rebekah. She left him a message, and basically Klaus then takes Cami to bed. They have sex in this episode, which is very interesting, but it really, again, feels like something that we've been waiting for, we've been building up to. So Rebekah shows him the infection is still there, and it's not gone away. You know, she's still a ripper. He says Freya can try something else, and Rebekah says that she might go after Freya again, or Hayley, or Hope, and you realize what she's trying to say. She tells him to hide her body and hands him the dagger. And she says, tell no one, especially now Klaus. She says, this is the burden to bear. Klaus then kisses Cami again. She says, wake her after a year when the prophecy is done. And she says, maybe they need to embrace and control the prophecy. And she says, when he buries her, she will know that the family part is done. And they can come after any friend or foe that comes at them. He doesn't like it, but she orders him to do it. And he does. So he's now staked her, and she's going to be, she's now going to be cloaked, basically, so no one can find her. It's really sad, but it makes sense why Rebekah would do this. She's a very selfless person, and it really goes very well with her character. I felt so bad for Rebekah. You know, she's really had it the worst. I've said it so many times, Rebekah's had the worst out of anyone. She really has. I mean, she's always leaving. She always has to leave. She's never safe. Someone is always coming after her, and there's nothing she can do about it. I think Rebekah's realizing that, you know what, I just need to be selfless. I need to be selfless, and I can't, I can't say no. I can't say no. I have to help my brothers, and her wanting to help them, that's what ultimately I think is going to end up killing her at one point. I do feel Rebekah's going to die at some point. I mean, she is an original, so she can't die per se, but I don't know. I really feel like we're very slowly getting close to the end of Rebekah. I mean, really, the way that they're writing her is just so great, and I love it. And again, I understand people are upset that she's only on every so often, but this is why I love that she's on every so often, because we get amazing scenes like that, and that was such a great scene. You can tell this was a thing that was very hard for Elijah to do, but he knew he had to do it, and he really couldn't say no because she wanted it. So Cami then lies awake sleeping, then wakes and looks at Klaus. She then looks a little afraid, and you don't really know why. I mainly thought this was because she just thought, this is just too good. I can't have this. This is just too good for me. Tristan then finds Aurora playing Christmas carols on the piano. He tells her that she should play more. She says she composes sonnets in her head. He says it was a good day. He agrees it was beautiful, and Klaus then wakes to find blood in his bed. Aurora says tomorrow will be even better. Klaus shudders. Cami's throat has been sliced. Cami is dead. He says no, picks her up and screams. And Aurora, I'm convinced, is the one that slit her throat. And Cami is now dead. And holy shit, I cannot believe they killed off Cami. But it does really make a lot of sense. I mean, what would get Klaus so upset? What would get Klaus to the point where he just wanted to kill Aurora? Would be if she killed Cami. That's what would get him. And we're finally going to see that raging Klaus back. It really feels like we haven't seen that all season because Klaus hasn't had a lot of hope all season long. He really hasn't had a lot of hope. He's lost a lot of allies, and he really hasn't trusted a lot of people. And he really loved Cami. That was like the first thing that really mattered to him in a while. And now she's dead, and he definitely is going to get his revenge, and it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what happens there. But holy shit, what an amazing finale this was. I cannot get over everything that happened in this finale. There's so much to talk about. First of all, a lot of people are saying, was Cami turned? No, Cami's dead. I do not think Cami's coming back. If she comes back, that's really stupid. I don't think Cami's coming back. Her throat was slit. She's human. She's definitely not coming back. I can't believe they killed her off, though. It does really make sense, though, because that really was the one thing that was keeping Klaus from going completely insane and completely losing it. And the prophecy, of course, you have to keep thinking about the prophecy. How is Klaus going to fall? If he loses the one that he cares about most, if he loses the one that's helped him control his anger, that's how he falls, is losing Cami. And that definitely makes a lot of sense as to what's going to happen there, and it's going to be really crazy to see what happens. Is he going to find out about Rebekah? I would think that Elijah's eventually going to tell him. At some point, he's going to have to tell him. Even though Rebekah specifically told Elijah, do not tell Klaus, he's going to tell Klaus. I mean, that's just not something you can keep from someone. It's very hard to do that, and I wouldn't know, it would not really be the best thing for Elijah to do such a thing. I don't think that Elijah would do that to Klaus. I think he is going to tell Klaus what's going on, and that, hey, something bad happened to Rebekah. I had to hit her body. I loved the scene with Freya, definitely. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. I love seeing Freya as this, leader. I really do see Freya as the leader here. I'm really loving her character. I think she's doing a great job. What is Vincent's plan? I mean, he just took away all her stuff. What is he going to do? Obviously, he has a plan that is a real detriment to the originals and to Tristan and Aurora. So what's going to happen there? Kinney is still under Lucian's mind control. I like that Klaus is helping him out. I kind of feel like Klaus is going to be working with Kinney, though, because Kinney cared just much about Cami. In fact, I thought Kinney was going to be a love interest for Cami, and if Kinney finds out that Cami is dead, they're definitely going to do something about Tristan and Aurora. Tristan and Aurora are definitely going to die next season. I mean the rest of the season. I do not see them living past the end of the season. I'm surprised that Aurora didn't die this episode. She didn't die because this was the first, like, really big, drastic thing that she did, and you know, Klaus didn't know that she really was serious about going after Cami, and I'm pretty sure that, you know, she's the one that killed Cami. I mean, it would make sense. I mean, she's the one that's saying tomorrow's gonna be even better, and just the way that they showed that, I think Klaus knows that this was Aurora, and he's gonna do everything he can to go after her and kill her, and definitely it's gonna be very crazy what happens there. Hayley, definitely. It's very interesting to see what's going on with Hayley and Jackson. I think Jackson is just becoming more aware of who Hayley is, and he's starting to understand her more. And I think that overall is very interesting. Definitely interested in seeing what's gonna happen with that. Davina, we haven't seen Davina for several episodes now. What is gonna happen with her? What is Marcel gonna do? I feel like Marcel's gonna use Davina in some way, but I don't know how right now. We'll have to see what happens there. But overall, guys, this has been a pretty amazing season so far. I've really been loving it. I think this has definitely been the strongest season. I love this episode did not have, a lot going on. You know, it had a lot going on, but it also didn't. Mainly because it's the mid-season finale. They didn't want to do too much, and I think they did a good job by not doing too much. Now is not the time. This has been a much more slower season, and I like that. I like the slow pacedness of this season. I love everything that's been going on this season. But overall, guys, it's been an amazing season so far. I cannot wait till the show comes back. What a huge cliffhanger. I can't believe they actually had the balls to kill off Cami. That's something the Vampire Diaries doesn't know how to do. They don't know how to kill off characters. That's how you kill off a character. Definitely. And I definitely love seeing that. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode. It's so sad to see that Cami's gone. I can't believe that she's gone. I do hope that we see her at some point again, maybe in flashbacks, or Klaus might see visions of her. I don't think this is the end of Leah Pipes. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see. But let me know what you guys thought of this episode. I absolutely love this episode. And the other thing about this, I know people are saying, well, why would they kill off the only human? She's not the only human now. Kinney is the other human. By killing off Cami, I feel like Kinney's going to play a bigger role in the show, definitely, because he's the only human left. And now that Cami's gone, he's the only one that's a human in the main cast. And that could be very interesting to see if they do something with Kinney. I could definitely see him doing something with him. But let me know what you guys thought of this mid-season finale as a whole. I absolutely love the season. What you thought of the season in general. And we'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for a trailer reaction. And I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.